Every single morning, millions of people instinctively reach for their cup of coffee or their usual breakfast routine, completely unaware that something far simpler and far more powerful might already be sitting quietly in their kitchen. One ordinary-looking golden tablespoon of a natural substance could potentially activate changes inside the human body that go far beyond what many modern medical interventions aim to achieve. For thousands of years, ancient Mediterranean civilizations relied on the same substance, not just as food, but as a foundation of health and longevity, passing down its use through generations without needing scientific validation. Today, modern research is finally beginning to uncover what those ancient cultures seem to understand instinctively, that this is not just a cooking ingredient, but something far more biologically active. Recent scientific findings, including large-scale clinical research, such as the pre-dimed study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, have revealed a striking observation. Individuals who consumed extra virgin olive oil daily experienced up to a 30% reduction in major cardiovascular events. This alone challenges long-held assumptions in preventive medicine, but what is even more surprising is how quickly these effects begin. The body does not wait weeks or months to respond. Instead, measurable biological changes can begin within the first 24 hours of consistent intake. By the end of just 1 week, the body may undergo a series of internal shifts that collectively contribute to improved long-term health and potentially increased lifespan. What makes this even more compelling is that Mediterranean populations who have used this dietary staple for centuries consistently show some of the lowest rates of heart disease and among the highest life expectancies in the world. Now, science is confirming what tradition has long suggested. This substance is not simply a fat source for cooking. It behaves more like a functional food with medicinal properties when consumed in its natural form. However, before exploring what actually happens inside the body day by day, there's a crucial detail that cannot be ignored. Not every bottle labeled as olive oil carries the same benefits. In fact, choosing the wrong type can completely eliminate the health advantages, leaving behind something that offers little more than empty calories. Many commercially available versions are refined, processed, or diluted, stripping away the very compounds responsible for its biological activity. In such cases, consumption may have little meaningful effect on health despite the premium price tag. Extra virgin olive oil is the key distinction. It is extracted through cold pressing without heat or chemical processing, preserving a complex profile of natural compounds. These include monounsaturated fats, especially oleic acid, along with more than 30 identified phenolic compounds. Together, they create what researchers describe as a synergistic effect, meaning their combined action is greater than the sum of their individual parts. This is where the science becomes particularly interesting. Studies published in clinical nutrition journals have shown that extra virgin olive oil can contain dramatically higher concentrations of these protective compounds compared to regular processed oils. These phenolic compounds function as powerful antioxidants and anti-inflammatory agents within the body, influencing everything from cellular protection to vascular health. Even more important is how the body absorbs them. Because these compounds are fat-soluble, they are naturally integrated and absorbed more efficiently when consumed in the oil itself rather than isolated in supplement form. This explains why whole food consumption often outperforms supplementation in real-world health outcomes. When taken regularly, especially in populations following traditional Mediterranean dietary patterns, the effects extend beyond laboratory markers. Researchers consistently observe lower rates of chronic disease, improved cardiovascular function, and longer overall lifespan. These outcomes are not tied to a single nutrient, but to the consistent presence of this natural compound within daily nutrition. Now, to understand how quickly the body begins responding, we move into the first stage of transformation, which begins surprisingly fast, within hours of the very first intake. Within just a few hours on the first day, the body begins to show early signs of biochemical change. Inflammatory activity starts to decline at the cellular level. Specific compounds in olive oil interact with pathways involved in immune response and inflammation regulation, leading to measurable shifts in biological markers associated with chronic disease risk. What makes this especially significant is that these early effects are not subtle at the molecular level. Clinical research has observed reductions in inflammatory markers such as C-reactive protein and interleukin activity shortly after consumption. These markers are commonly used by physicians to assess the risk of cardiovascular disease and metabolic disorders. Some individuals even report physical sensations of reduced stiffness or improved comfort in joints within the first day, suggesting that the anti-inflammatory effects may extend beyond laboratory measurements and into real-world experience. This is only the beginning of a chain reaction that continues to unfold over the following days. And as the body continues to respond, the changes become more structured, more measurable, and increasingly impactful on cardiovascular function, digestion, and overall cellular health. As the first day's initial inflammatory response begins to settle, the body does not return to a neutral state. Instead, it starts building on those early biochemical shifts, moving into a more structured phase of internal adjustment. By the time you reach the second day of consistent intake, the focus of change shifts toward one of the most critical systems in the entire body, the cardiovascular system. At this stage, the compounds found in extra virgin olive oil continue circulating and interacting with key metabolic pathways. Monounsaturated fats, particularly oleic acid, begin to influence lipid metabolism in a noticeable way. Rather than simply acting as a calorie source, these fats actively participate in regulating cholesterol balance. One of the earliest observable effects is a gradual improvement in the ratio between HDL cholesterol, often referred to as the good cholesterol, and oxidized LDL cholesterol, which is more strongly linked to arterial damage and plaque formation. This is not an immediate reversal of long-term cardiovascular risk, but rather the beginning of a directional shift. The body starts reducing the harmful forms of cholesterol while supporting the protective ones. At the same time, antioxidant compounds present in the oil begin to limit oxidative stress, which plays a major role in damaging blood vessel walls over time. Research from large clinical trials, including findings published in high-impact journals like the New England Journal of Medicine, has shown that regular intake of extra virgin olive oil is associated with measurable improvements in endothelial function within a very short time frame. The endothelium, which is the thin inner lining of blood vessels, is essential for maintaining proper circulation and vascular flexibility. When it functions well, blood flows more efficiently, pressure is regulated more effectively, and the risk of arterial stiffness is reduced. By the second day, the effects on this system begin to become more apparent at a physiological level. The body increases its production of nitric oxide, a naturally occurring molecule that helps relax and widen blood vessels. This process, known as vasodilation, allows blood to move through the circulatory system with less resistance. As a result, the heart does not need to work as hard to circulate blood throughout the body. Over time, this improvement in vascular responsiveness can contribute to better blood pressure regulation, even in individuals who do not change anything else in their diet. The addition of just one consistent source of extra virgin olive oil has been linked to measurable improvements in cardiovascular markers. What is particularly important here is that these benefits are not dependent on extreme dietary changes. The cardiovascular system responds to the introduction of beneficial fats even when the rest of the diet remains relatively unchanged. This makes the effect both accessible and sustainable, especially for individuals who may struggle with strict nutritional plans. At the same time, antioxidant compounds continue to play a protective role. They help reduce the formation of oxidized LDL particles, which are considered more dangerous than LDL cholesterol itself because they are more likely to contribute to plaque buildup in arteries. By limiting this oxidation process, the body begins to reduce one of the key drivers of long-term cardiovascular disease. As these internal changes develop, circulation becomes slightly more efficient. Some individuals may not consciously notice these shifts, but biologically the system is already adjusting. Blood vessels respond more dynamically, oxygen delivery becomes slightly more efficient, and overall cardiovascular strain begins to decrease. This stage is also where early synergy between inflammation reduction and vascular improvement becomes important. The anti-inflammatory effects that began on day one continue to support the cardiovascular system by reducing stress on blood vessel walls. Inflammation and vascular damage are closely linked, so reducing one naturally supports improvement in the other. By the end of the second day, the body is not transformed, but it is clearly moving in a different direction. The early foundation laid during the first 24 hours is now expanding into measurable cardiovascular support, setting the stage for deeper systemic changes in digestion, metabolism, and cellular function that begin to appear in the following days. And as the cardiovascular system stabilizes and becomes more efficient, the next major shift begins in an entirely different system of the body, one that influences nearly every aspect of long-term health: the digestive system. Part. As the cardiovascular system continues to adjust and stabilize, the body begins shifting its attention toward another foundational system that influences nearly every aspect of health: the digestive system. By the third day of consistent intake, the changes are no longer limited to circulation or inflammation alone. Instead, a deeper transformation begins inside the gut, where digestion, nutrient absorption, and microbial balance all start to shift in noticeable ways. At this stage, extra virgin olive oil begins to interact more directly with the gastrointestinal tract. One of the earliest effects is improved digestive rhythm. The natural lipid content helps support smoother intestinal movement, which can contribute to more regular bowel function. However, the impact goes far beyond simple mechanical digestion. Inside the gut, a far more complex process is taking place. The human digestive system is home to trillions of microorganisms, collectively known as the gut microbiome. This ecosystem plays a critical role in immunity, metabolism, and even mental health. By the third day, compounds in extra virgin olive oil begin influencing this microbial environment in a favorable direction. Beneficial bacterial strains, including species such as Bifidobacterium and Lactobacillus, start to become more supported, while less beneficial or inflammatory associated bacteria may begin to decline. This shift is not accidental. The polyphenols present in high-quality olive oil act as natural prebiotic-like compounds. Rather than being digested in the traditional sense, they serve as fuel and regulatory signals for beneficial gut bacteria. This creates a cascading effect where improved microbial balance leads to better digestive efficiency and reduced internal inflammation. At the same time, the body begins enhancing bile production. Bile is essential for breaking down dietary fats and absorbing fat-soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, and K. With improved bile activity, the digestive system becomes more efficient at extracting nutrients from food. This means that the benefits of olive oil extend indirectly to the entire diet, improving overall nutrient utilization. As these changes continue, many individuals begin to notice a reduction in common digestive discomforts. Bloating may decrease, heaviness after meals may feel less pronounced, and overall digestive comfort may improve. While these effects vary between individuals, the underlying biological mechanisms are consistent with improved gut function and reduced intestinal inflammation. One of the most important aspects of this phase is the anti-inflammatory effect within the gut lining itself. Chronic low-grade inflammation in the digestive tract is increasingly recognized as a contributing factor to a wide range of health conditions, from metabolic disorders to immune dysregulation. The compounds in extra virgin olive oil help calm this inflammatory activity, supporting a more balanced intestinal environment. There's also growing research suggesting that improvements in gut health can have far-reaching effects beyond digestion. The gut is closely connected to the immune system, with a significant portion of immune activity originating in or being regulated by intestinal processes. As the microbiome becomes more balanced, immune function may also become more stable and efficient. In addition, the gut-brain connection means that changes in digestive health can influence mood, cognitive clarity, and even stress response. While these effects are indirect, they are increasingly supported by scientific literature exploring the relationship between gut bacteria and neurological function. By the end of the third day, the digestive system is not just processing food more efficiently, it is beginning to operate in a more balanced and less inflamed state. Nutrient absorption is improved, microbial diversity is shifting in a beneficial direction, and internal irritation is gradually being reduced. This phase sets the stage for even more visible external changes. As internal inflammation decreases and nutrient availability improves, the body begins redirecting resources toward repair and maintenance processes that become more apparent in the skin, hair, and overall physical appearance. And as the digestive system reaches a more stable and optimized state, the next stage of transformation begins to appear externally, revealing changes that extend from the inside of the body to its outer surface. As the digestive system begins to stabilize and internal inflammation continues to decline, the body gradually shifts its focus toward visible repair processes. By the fourth day of consistent intake, the changes are no longer confined to internal organs alone. Instead, they start becoming noticeable on the surface of the body, particularly in the skin and hair, where cellular renewal and nutrient delivery begin to show clearer effects. At this stage, improved digestion and nutrient absorption from the previous days play an important role. With the gut functioning more efficiently, the body is now better able to deliver essential vitamins and fatty acids to tissues that rely heavily on consistent nourishment. Skin cells, which are constantly regenerating, are among the first to reflect these internal improvements. One of the key contributors to this visible transformation is vitamin E, along with a range of antioxidant compounds naturally present in extra virgin olive oil. These compounds help protect cells from oxidative stress, which is one of the main drivers of premature aging in skin tissue. Over time, oxidative damage breaks down collagen and reduces skin elasticity, leading to dryness, fine lines, and uneven texture. By reducing this stress at the cellular level, the body begins to support a healthier skin environment from within. At the same time, the healthy fats in olive oil contribute to the maintenance of the skin's lipid barrier. This barrier is essential for retaining moisture and protecting the skin from environmental irritants. When it functions properly, the skin tends to appear more hydrated, smoother, and more resilient. Because oleic acid is naturally compatible with human skin lipids, its presence in the diet can indirectly support this barrier function through improved systemic fat availability. As these processes continue, subtle changes in skin appearance may begin to emerge. Some individuals may notice a slight improvement in hydration or softness, while others may experience a more even texture. These effects are gradual and cumulative rather than immediate, reflecting ongoing cellular repair rather than short-term cosmetic change. Hair health also begins to reflect internal nutritional support around this time. Hair follicles are highly dependent on a steady supply of nutrients and oxygen delivered through the bloodstream. As circulation and antioxidant protection continue to improve, the environment supporting hair growth becomes more stable. Vitamin E and polyphenols contribute to reducing oxidative stress around hair follicles, which can influence hair strength and resilience. While hair growth itself is a slow biological process, early indicators such as reduced breakage, improved shine, or a healthier appearance may become more noticeable over time with consistent intake. In addition to cosmetic effects, the anti-inflammatory properties of olive oil may also begin influencing certain skin conditions. Inflammation plays a central role in many dermatological issues, including dryness, irritation, and chronic skin disorders. By gradually reducing systemic inflammatory signals, the body creates a more balanced internal environment that can support healthier skin function. It is important to understand that these changes are not the result of a single mechanism, but rather a combination of improved nutrient absorption, reduced inflammation, and enhanced antioxidant protection working together. Each system that was adjusted in the previous days now begins contributing to outward physical improvements. By the end of the fourth day, the transformation becomes more visible, not in a dramatic or sudden way, but through subtle signs of improved skin quality and early indicators of stronger hair health. These changes reflect a deeper biological shift that started internally and is now extending outward. As the body continues this process of repair and optimization, the next stage of transformation moves into one of the most complex and influential systems in the human body, the brain. And as neurological activity begins to respond, the effects extend beyond physical appearance into cognition, mood, and mental clarity. As the body continues its gradual internal restoration, the improvements that began in digestion, circulation, and cellular protection start reaching one of the most sensitive and complex systems in human biology, the brain. By the fifth day of consistent intake, the changes are no longer limited to physical appearance or organ-level function. Instead, they begin to influence cognition, mood regulation, and overall mental performance in subtle but measurable ways. At this point, the healthy fats found in extra virgin olive oil, particularly monounsaturated fatty acids, begin to play a more active role in supporting brain structure and function. The brain is made up of nearly 60% fat, which means the quality of dietary fats can directly influence how efficiently it operates. When high-quality fats are consistently supplied, the brain membrane environment becomes more stable, allowing for improved communication between neurons. In parallel, polyphenolic compounds present in olive oil begin to exert neuroprotective effects. These compounds are able to cross the blood-brain barrier, meaning they can directly interact with brain tissue. Once inside the central nervous system, they help reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, two key factors that are strongly associated with cognitive decline over time. Research has increasingly focused on compounds such as oleocanthal, which appears to play a role in supporting brain health by helping reduce the accumulation of abnormal proteins linked to neurodegenerative conditions. While these processes develop over long periods, early biological activity can begin much sooner than most people realize. By the fifth day, some individuals begin to notice subtle changes in mental clarity. Thoughts may feel slightly more organized, focus may improve, and mental fatigue may decrease during periods of sustained attention. These effects are not sudden enhancements, but rather the result of reduced neuroinflammation and improved cellular efficiency within the brain. Another important factor at this stage is the influence of olive oil on brain-derived neurotrophic factor, often referred to as BDNF. This protein plays a crucial role in supporting the growth, maintenance, and survival of neurons. Higher levels of BDNF are associated with improved learning ability, memory formation, and overall cognitive resilience. While dietary changes do not instantly transform brain function, consistent intake of beneficial fats and antioxidants supports the biological conditions needed for optimal neural performance. Sleep quality may also begin to improve around this stage for some individuals. As inflammation in the body continues to decrease and as hormonal balance becomes more stable, the systems responsible for regulating sleep cycles may function more efficiently. Better sleep then feeds back into cognitive performance, creating a reinforcing cycle of improved mental clarity and emotional stability. Mood regulation is another area that can be indirectly influenced. The gut-brain connection, which was already impacted during the digestive phase, continues to play a role here. A more balanced microbiome can contribute to more stable neurotransmitter activity, which may help reduce fluctuations in mood and support a calmer mental state. By the end of the 5th day, the cumulative effect of reduced inflammation, improved circulation, and enhanced nutrient availability begins to create a more stable cognitive environment. The brain is not being forced into change, but rather supported in functioning more efficiently under healthier internal conditions. This stage is significant because it highlights how deeply interconnected the body's systems are. Improvements that began in the gut and cardiovascular system are now influencing neurological performance. Each layer of change builds upon the previous one, creating a gradual but coordinated transformation. As cognitive function begins to stabilize and improve, the next phase of transformation moves into another critical area of metabolic control, blood sugar regulation and energy balance.